Welcome to the new Student Pharmacists podcast. We're glad you're listening. Feel free to download this podcast. Here on this podcast, we discuss pharmacy ideas, research, and chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as successful student stories and impact in society. We're happy you're tuning in. Note, the views of this podcast represent those of my guest, S, and I note, purpose of these episodes not at all, for advice or medical suggestions. These are aimed to provide support for peer pharmacists in training in educational and intellectually stimulating ways. Again, these are not at all for medical advice, or for medical suggestions. Please see your local state and board certified physician, PA or NP, and pharmacist for medical advice and suggestions. 100 detailed IT1 questions with answers. What is the primary objective of the pharmacist's patient care process, PPCP? Answer, the PPCP aims to provide a consistent approach for pharmacists to deliver patient-centered care, encompassing the steps of collecting information, assessing, planning, implementing, and following up to optimize patient health outcomes. What are the key elements of the SOAP note format? Answer, SOAP stands for Subjective, Objective, Assessment, and Plan. It is a structured method for documenting patient care, where, subjective includes patient-reported information. Objective contains measurable data such as vital signs and lab results. Assessment interprets the data and diagnoses the issue. Plan outlines the treatment strategy. How do you assess a patient's adherence to medication therapy? Answer, adherence can be assessed by reviewing refill history, checking for discrepancies in the medication count, patient self-reporting, and observing clinical outcomes that align with proper medication use. What is the significance of the INR in patients on warfarin therapy? Answer, INR, International Normalized Ratio, is used to monitor the effectiveness of warfarin therapy, ensuring that the blood's clotting ability is within the therapeutic range to prevent either bleeding or thromboembolic events. Describe the role of activated charcoal in managing drug toxicity. Answer, activated charcoal is used to adsorb drugs in the gastrointestinal tract, preventing their absorption and aiding in their elimination. It is most effective when administered within an hour of ingestion of a toxic substance. What factors should be considered when managing acetaminophen toxicity? Answer, management includes assessing the amount and timing of acetaminophen ingestion, using the Rumack-Matthews nomogram to evaluate the risk of hepatotoxicity, and administering N-acetylcysteine, NAC, to replenish glutathione stores and mitigate liver damage. How is opioid toxicity clinically managed? Answer, opioid toxicity is managed by administering naloxone, a competitive opioid receptor antagonist, to reverse the effects of opioid overdose, alongside supportive care like ensuring adequate ventilation and monitoring for potential complications such as respiratory depression. What is the importance of the Poison Prevention Packaging Act, PPPA? Answer, the PPPA requires child-resistant packaging for hazardous household substances to prevent accidental poisonings in children, significantly reducing pediatric poisoning incidence. What is the pharmacological action of pralidoxime in organophosphate poisoning? Answer, pralidoxime reactivates acetylcholinesterase that has been inhibited by organophosphates, helping to restore normal function to the nervous system by breaking the bond between the enzyme and the poison. Describe the clinical presentation of calcium channel blocker toxicity. Answer, symptoms include hypotension, bradycardia, lethargy, dizziness, seizures, and in severe cases, shock and ventricular arrhythmias. Management may involve fluids, calcium administration, and sometimes insulin and norepinephrine. What is the role of gastric lavage in drug toxicity management? Answer, gastric lavage involves washing out the stomach contents and is used in life-threatening ingestions, but it is only effective if performed within an hour of ingestion. It carries risks such as aspiration pneumonitis and should be done by an experienced clinician. How does the Rumack-Matthews nomogram guide acetaminophen overdose management? Answer, the nomogram helps determine the risk of hepatotoxicity by plotting the plasma concentration of acetaminophen against the time since ingestion, guiding the need for NAC therapy. What are the key monitoring parameters for opioid toxicity? Answer, monitoring includes vital signs, respiratory function, blood gases and oximetry, and observation for complications such as rhabdomyolysis, acute kidney injury, AKI, seizures, and acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. Explain the use of N-acetylcysteine, NAC, in acetaminophen toxicity. Answer, NAC acts as a precursor to glutathione, helping to detoxify the harmful metabolite naphtha produced during acetaminophen overdose, thereby preventing or minimizing liver damage. What are the risk factors for iron toxicity? Answer, risk factors include ingestion of iron doses exceeding 40 mg/kg, particularly in children, and the presence of GI symptoms such as lethargy, persistent vomiting, and diarrhea, which require immediate medical evaluation. Describe the clinical stages of iron toxicity. Answer, iron toxicity progresses through 5 stages. Stage 1, GI irritation within 1 to 6 hours. Stage 2, latent phase with temporary resolution of symptoms. Stage 3, systemic toxicity leading to CNS symptoms, shock, and organ failure. Stage 4, hepatic failure and death. Stage 5, recovery or persistent symptoms from GI injury. What is the treatment approach for acetaminophen overdose in the absence of early symptoms? Answer: treatment still involves NAC administration based on acetaminophen levels and time post-ingestion, as hepatotoxicity can develop later even without early symptoms. What are the considerations for using multiple dose activated charcoal in toxicity cases? Answer: it is reserved for life-threatening overdoses involving drugs like carbamazepine or theophylline, where enhanced elimination is necessary. It's contraindicated if the GI tract is compromised or if the airway is not protected. What is the role of a pharmacist in pre-hospital care for poisoning cases? Answer: pharmacists provide initial guidance, such as recommending immediate actions, the use of activated charcoal, if appropriate, and advising caregivers to seek urgent medical help while offering poison prevention education. How is naloxone administered in opioid overdose? Answer: naloxone can be administered intramuscularly, subcutaneously, or intranasally. Dosages vary depending on the route and patient age, with repeat doses given every 2 to 3 minutes as needed until the patient responds. What are the key elements to include in the subjective section of a SOAP note? Answer: the subjective section should include the chief complaint, CC, history of present illness, HPI, patient-reported medications, allergies, adherence, past medical history, PMH, and relevant family, social, and home testing data. What are the typical symptoms and signs of anticholinesterase insecticide toxicity? Answer: symptoms include excessive salivation, lacrimation, urination, diarrhea, GI distress, bronchuria, meiosis, muscle weakness, and potential CNS effects like seizures and confusion. Describe the pharmacist's role in the management of drug toxicity. Answer: pharmacists identify toxicity, assess potential severity, apply the PPCP to provide appropriate care, recommend antidotes, and educate patients and caregivers on poison prevention. What are the contraindications for gastric lavage? Answer: contraindications include ingestion of corrosive substances or hydrocarbons, as lavage increases the risk of aspiration and GI perforation. How should opioid withdrawal be managed following naloxone administration? Answer: opioid withdrawal symptoms should be managed with supportive care, monitoring for signs like agitation and tachycardia, and re-administration of naloxone if needed. What is the role of the SOAP note in clinical practice? Answer: SOAP notes provide a structured format for documenting patient encounters, ensuring that all relevant clinical information is captured and that decisions are clearly justified. What is the maximum recommended dose of deferoxamine in iron toxicity? Answer: the maximum recommended dose of deferoxamine is 6 g/day. How does the PPPA contribute to reducing accidental poisonings in children? Answer: the PPPA enforces the use of child-resistant packaging for hazardous substances, reducing the likelihood that children can open containers and ingest toxic substances. What are the indications for whole bowel irrigation in toxicity cases? Answer: whole bowel irrigation is indicated for certain overdoses, such as ingestion of extended-release formulations or substances like iron that are not effectively absorbed by activated charcoal. What are the key considerations in the management of calcium channel blocker toxicity? Answer: management involves stabilizing the patient with fluids, calcium, high-dose insulin, and vasopressors if needed. Early decontamination with activated charcoal and whole bowel irrigation may also be considered. How is acetaminophen toxicity risk assessed? Answer: risk is assessed based on the dose ingested, the time since ingestion, acetaminophen serum levels, and the patient's clinical presentation, including liver function tests. What monitoring is required for a patient on high-dose insulin therapy in calcium channel blocker toxicity? Answer: monitoring should include blood glucose levels, serum electrolytes, arterial blood gases, urine output, and kidney function. How is atropine used in the management of organophosphate poisoning? Answer: atropine is administered to block the effects of acetylcholine at parasympathetic sites, with doses repeated until signs of atropinization, dry skin, tachycardia, are achieved. Describe the role of public health initiatives in managing drug toxicity. Answer: public health initiatives focus on prevention through education, safer drug formulations, improved packaging, and the establishment of poison control centers to provide immediate guidance. What are the key signs of acetaminophen-induced hepatotoxicity? Answer: key signs include elevated liver enzymes, AST/ALT, jaundice, coagulopathy, increased INR, and signs of hepatic failure such as encephalopathy and hypoglycemia. How is an overdose of calcium channel blockers typically treated? Answer: treatment may involve 4-calcium, high-dose insulin, vasopressors, activated charcoal, and sometimes whole bowel irrigation, depending on the formulation ingested. What is the significance of child-resistant caps in preventing drug toxicity? Answer: child-resistant caps are crucial in preventing accidental ingestions by making it difficult for young children to open containers and access potentially harmful substances. Explain the importance of accurate documentation in a SOAP note. Answer: accurate documentation in a SOAP note ensures that all relevant clinical data is recorded, supporting clinical decisions and facilitating communication among healthcare providers. What is the clinical presentation of iron toxicity? Answer: iron toxicity presents in stages, beginning with GI symptoms, followed by a latent phase, and then systemic toxicity leading to CNS symptoms, shock, and potential hepatic failure. What are the potential complications of using deferoxamine in iron toxicity? Answer: complications include hypotension, red urine, increased susceptibility to infections, and acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. Describe the relationship between serum iron levels and toxicity severity. Answer: serum iron levels correlate with toxicity severity, with levels over 500 micrograms/dl indicating serious toxicity and levels over 1000 micrograms/dl associated with significant morbidity and mortality. What is the purpose of a SOAP notes assessment section? Answer: the assessment section provides an interpretation of the subjective and objective data, diagnosing the problem, evaluating the severity, and considering the appropriateness of the current therapy. When is whole bowel irrigation contraindicated? Answer: whole bowel irrigation is contraindicated in patients with bowel perforation, obstruction, GI hemorrhage, ileus, or intractable vomiting. What are the clinical signs of opioid toxicity? Answer: signs include respiratory depression, meiosis, pinpoint pupils, hypotension, bradycardia, coma, and hypothermia. How is a suspected opioid overdose managed in a pre-hospital setting? Answer: management includes administering naloxone, calling emergency services, and providing supportive care to maintain airway and breathing until help arrives. What are the key components of a treatment plan in a SOAP note? Answer: the treatment plan should include specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound, SMART, goals, detailing pharmacological and non-pharmacological interventions, monitoring parameters, and follow-up plans. What is the clinical significance of the Rumack-Matthews nomogram? Answer: the Rumack-Matthews nomogram helps determine the risk of acetaminophen-induced hepatotoxicity and guides the need for NAC therapy based on serum acetaminophen levels and time since ingestion. How is naloxone dosed in opioid overdose for adults and children? Answer: for adults, naloxone is administered at 0.4 to 2 mg, repeated every 2 to 3 minutes if needed. For children, the dose is 0.1 mg/kg for those under 20 kg, with adjustments based on clinical response. What are the common clinical signs of anticholinesterase insecticide poisoning? Answer: common signs include meiosis, salivation, lacrimation, urination, diarrhea, GI distress, bronchuria, muscle weakness, confusion, and seizures. What are the risks of gastric lavage in toxicity cases? Answer: risks include aspiration, GI perforation, laryngospasm, and fluid and electrolyte imbalances, making it a procedure reserved for specific, life-threatening situations. Explain the role of antidotes in the management of drug toxicity. Answer: antidotes work by counteracting the toxic effects of specific drugs, either by binding to the toxin, reversing its effects, or enhancing its elimination from the body. What is the significance of child-resistant packaging for products containing acetaminophen? Answer: child-resistant packaging helps prevent accidental overdoses, particularly in children, by making it difficult for them to access large quantities of acetaminophen, which can be lethal in overdose. What is the clinical importance of monitoring vital signs in drug toxicity? Answer: monitoring vital signs is crucial in assessing the severity of toxicity, guiding treatment decisions, and detecting complications like hypotension, bradycardia, or respiratory depression. How is iron toxicity typically managed? Answer: management includes GI decontamination, administration of deferoxamine as an iron chelator, and supportive care to stabilize the patient and prevent complications. What are the primary goals of naloxone administration in opioid overdose? Answer: the primary goals are to restore adequate spontaneous ventilation and prevent respiratory arrest while avoiding the onset of severe opioid withdrawal symptoms. How is drug-induced hypoglycemia managed in calcium channel blocker toxicity? Answer: high-dose insulin therapy is used to manage drug-induced hypoglycemia, with careful monitoring of blood glucose levels and electrolyte balance. What are the key considerations when documenting a SOAP note? Answer: key considerations include accuracy, completeness, relevance to the patient's case, clarity in clinical reasoning, and adherence to professional and legal documentation standards. What are the complications associated with iron toxicity? Answer: complications include metabolic acidosis, shock, liver failure, GI injury, and CNS effects such as seizures and coma. What role does activated charcoal play in opioid toxicity management? Answer: activated charcoal may be used within the first hour of ingestion to limit drug absorption, although its use in opioid toxicity is generally limited due to the rapid onset of opioid effects. How should a pharmacist respond to a suspected acetaminophen overdose? Answer: the pharmacist should assess the timing and amount of ingestion, refer the patient for immediate medical evaluation, and recommend the administration of NAC based on the Rumack-Matthews nomogram. What is the significance of the therapeutic index in drug toxicity management? Answer: the therapeutic index indicates the margin of safety for a drug, with a narrow index requiring close monitoring to avoid toxicity, especially in cases of overdose. How are calcium channel blockers associated with hyperglycemia in toxicity cases? Answer: in severe cases of calcium channel blocker overdose, hyperglycemia occurs due to the drug's interference with insulin secretion, requiring careful management with insulin therapy. What are the indications for hemoperfusion in drug toxicity? Answer: hemoperfusion may be indicated for life-threatening overdoses of substances that are not effectively cleared by other means, such as certain drugs with a high volume of distribution. Describe the management of a pediatric patient with suspected iron toxicity. Answer: management includes immediate assessment of symptoms, possible administration of deferoxamine, and referral to a healthcare facility for monitoring and supportive care. What are the signs of opioid withdrawal following naloxone administration? Answer: signs include agitation, anxiety, tachycardia, sweating, nausea, vomiting, and potentially severe discomfort if the patient was opioid dependent. What is the clinical significance of measuring serum acetaminophen levels in overdose cases? Answer: measuring serum acetaminophen levels helps determine the severity of the overdose, guide NAC therapy, and predict the risk of hepatotoxicity using the Rumack-Matthews nomogram. How does the pathophysiology of acetaminophen toxicity lead to liver damage? Answer: acetaminophen is metabolized to naphthyte, a hepatotoxic metabolite. In overdose, glutathione stores are depleted, leading to naphthyte accumulation and subsequent liver cell damage. What is the role of atropine in treating anticholinesterase insecticide poisoning? Answer: atropine counteracts the effects of excess acetylcholine by blocking its receptors, helping to alleviate symptoms like bronchoconstriction, bradycardia, and excessive secretions. What are the key assessment criteria for a patient presenting with drug toxicity? Answer: assessment criteria include the time and type of drug exposure, the patient's clinical presentation, vital signs, laboratory results, and the potential need for emergency interventions. How is iron toxicity in children typically prevented? Answer: prevention includes educating parents on the risks of iron supplements, enforcing child-resistant packaging, and promoting safe storage of all medications and supplements. What are the risks of using high-dose insulin in toxicity management? Answer: risks include hypoglycemia, electrolyte imbalances, and the need for frequent monitoring of blood glucose levels to avoid severe complications. How should a pharmacist handle a request for home treatment of poisoning? Answer: the pharmacist should advise against home treatment and recommend contacting a poison control center or seeking emergency care, emphasizing the importance of professional assessment. What is the clinical significance of the INR in monitoring warfarin therapy? Answer: the INR helps ensure that warfarin therapy is within the therapeutic range, reducing the risk of either bleeding, if too high, or thrombosis, if too low. Describe the treatment strategy for a patient with severe acetaminophen overdose. Answer: treatment involves prompt administration of NAC, close monitoring of liver function, and supportive care to manage symptoms like nausea and vomiting. What are the contraindications for using activated charcoal in drug toxicity? Answer: activated charcoal is contraindicated in patients with a non-intact GI tract, those with an unprotected airway, and when the ingested substance is not adsorbed by charcoal, e.g., metals, alcohols. How does the therapeutic range of a drug influence its monitoring in toxicity cases? Answer: a narrow therapeutic range necessitates closer monitoring to prevent toxicity, especially when managing overdoses or when there are factors that may alter drug metabolism or clearance. What is the significance of measuring blood gases in opioid toxicity? Answer: blood gases help assess respiratory function, identifying hypoxemia or hypercapnia, which are common in opioid toxicity, and guide the need for ventilatory support. What are the steps for documenting a comprehensive SOAP note? Answer: steps include gathering subjective and objective data, forming an assessment based on clinical findings, and creating a detailed, actionable plan that addresses all aspects of the patient's care. How is deferoxamine administered in cases of acute iron toxicity? Answer: deferoxamine is administered intravenously at a dose of 15 mg/kg/hr for the first 1000 mg, then reduced to 125 mg/hr, with close monitoring for adverse effects like hypotension and ARDS. What are the clinical indicators for the use of whole bowel irrigation in drug toxicity? Answer: indicators include ingestion of extended-release formulations or substances that are not effectively adsorbed by activated charcoal, and the presence of severe toxicity that requires rapid decontamination. Describe the management of calcium channel blocker toxicity with high-dose insulin. Answer: high-dose insulin therapy is used to improve cardiac contractility and manage hypoglycemia, with continuous monitoring of glucose and electrolyte levels. What are the potential adverse effects of naloxone administration? Answer: potential adverse effects include acute opioid withdrawal symptoms, hypertension, tachycardia, and in rare cases, pulmonary edema. How does the pediatric patient care process differ from adult care in cases of drug toxicity? Answer: pediatric care requires careful consideration of age-specific factors like weight-based dosing, the higher risk of unintentional ingestions, and the need for child-specific antidote formulations. What is the clinical importance of the SOAP Notes Plan section? Answer: the plan section outlines the specific actions to be taken, including treatment, monitoring, and follow-up, ensuring that patient care is directed and measurable. What role does monitoring play in the management of iron toxicity? Answer: monitoring includes tracking serum iron levels, liver function tests, and signs of systemic toxicity, guiding the use of interventions like deferoxamine. Describe the clinical presentation of acetaminophen toxicity at different stages. Answer: the stages progress from nausea and vomiting in the first 24 hours, to a latent phase with rising liver enzymes, followed by hepatic injury and potential liver failure, and finally recovery or progression to severe liver damage. How is the risk of opioid withdrawal managed following naloxone use? Answer: risk management includes careful dosing of naloxone to avoid precipitating withdrawal, using supportive care to manage symptoms, and closely monitoring the patient's response. What are the considerations for using cathartics in drug toxicity? Answer: cathartics may be used with activated charcoal to enhance drug elimination but are generally not recommended due to risks like fluid and electrolyte imbalances, especially in vulnerable populations. How does a narrow therapeutic index influence drug toxicity management? Answer: drugs with a narrow therapeutic index require close monitoring and precise dosing to avoid toxicity, particularly in cases of overdose where small variations in blood levels can have significant effects. What is the role of poison control centers in managing drug toxicity? Answer: poison control centers provide immediate guidance on managing toxic exposures, offering recommendations for treatment, decontamination, and when to seek emergency care. How is acetaminophen toxicity managed in patients with delayed presentation? Answer: even with delayed presentation, NAC may still be beneficial, and the patient should be closely monitored for signs of hepatic injury, with supportive care as needed. What are the key elements of an effective treatment plan in a SOAP note? Answer: an effective treatment plan includes clear, actionable steps, monitoring criteria, patient education, and a timeline for follow-up, all based on the assessment and patient-specific factors. How is multiple-dose activated charcoal used in managing life-threatening overdoses? Answer: it is used to enhance the elimination of drugs with long half-lives or those that undergo enterohepatic recirculation, with repeated dosing to maintain a high concentration of charcoal in the GI tract. What are the potential complications of using naloxone in opioid-dependent patients? Answer: complications include severe withdrawal symptoms, agitation, and cardiovascular effects like hypertension and tachycardia, which require careful management. Describe the assessment process for a suspected drug overdose in the community pharmacy setting. Answer: the assessment involves gathering information about the substance ingested, the amount and time since ingestion, the patient's symptoms, and providing immediate recommendations or referrals for further care. What is the role of supportive care in managing drug toxicity? Answer: supportive care focuses on maintaining vital functions, such as airway management, fluid and electrolyte balance, and treating symptoms like seizures or hypotension, which are critical to patient survival. How is the SOAP note format used to improve patient care outcomes? Answer: the SOAP format ensures thorough documentation, supports clinical reasoning, and facilitates clear communication among healthcare providers, leading to better coordinated and more effective patient care. What are the indications for using pralidoxime in organophosphate poisoning? Answer: pralidoxime is indicated for severe poisoning to reactivate cholinesterase and restore normal nerve function, administered in conjunction with atropine and supportive care. What monitoring is necessary following the administration of naloxone? Answer: monitoring includes observing for return of respiratory depression, assessing vital signs, and watching for signs of opioid withdrawal, with repeated dosing of naloxone as necessary. How is the pharmacist's patient care process applied in the management of drug toxicity? Answer: the PPCP is applied by collecting relevant patient data, assessing the severity of toxicity, creating a treatment plan that includes antidotes and supportive care, implementing the plan, and following up to ensure patient recovery. Act 1, The Digital Realm of Cythera, Introduction to IT1 Scene. On the planet Cythera, where the digital and physical worlds intertwine, the cyber elders prepare to guide the young initiates through the foundational principles of IT1. The city hums with the energy of data streams, and the air crackles with the potential of information waiting to be harnessed. Elder Byte, standing before a massive holographic interface: welcome, young ones, to Sathira, a world where the digital and the biological coexist in harmony. Today, you begin your journey into the depths of IT1, where you will master the art of information technology in healthcare. This knowledge is not just about managing data, it is about saving lives, optimizing treatments, and ensuring that every byte of information is used to its fullest potential. Nia, a bright-eyed initiate with a thirst for knowledge, Elder Byte, what is the essence of IT1? How do these principles translate into the work we will do? Elder Pixel, her voice like the hum of a server room, IT1 is the foundation of all clinical documentation and patient assessment. It is through this that you will learn to interpret clinical data, understand laboratory results, manage acute drug toxicities, and utilize the pharmacist's patient care process. Every decision you make will be supported by the precise and methodical recording of information, ensuring that nothing is overlooked. Act 2, the data streams, interpretation and documentation scene. The young initiates are led to the river of data, a flowing stream of information that represents the clinical records, laboratory results, and patient histories they will learn to navigate. The stream is alive with glowing icons representing different types of data. Elder Byte, gesturing to the stream, here flows the lifeblood of IT1 data. Each piece of information, whether it is a lab result, a patient's history, or a documented SOAP note, contributes to the overall understanding of a patient's health. Your task is to interpret this data, ensuring accuracy and relevance in every decision you make. Kira, reaching out to touch the stream, how do we ensure that we do not miss anything important? The stream is so vast, and the data so varied. Elder Pixel, nodding, that is why you must learn the art of the SOAP notes: objective, assessment, and plan. This structured format allows you to document each patient encounter methodically. The subjective data comes from the patient, their complaints, history, and symptoms. The objective data includes measurable factors, vital signs, lab results, and physical exams. The assessment synthesizes this information, leading to a diagnosis, and the plan outlines the course of treatment. Nia, thoughtfully, so, the SOAP note is our guide, our way to ensure that every detail is captured and every decision is based on solid evidence. Elder Byte, smiling, exactly, Nia. Through the SOAP note, you will bring order to the chaos of data, ensuring that every patient receives the care they need. Act 3, the Cyber Labyrinth, management of drug toxicity scene. The young ones are led into the Cyber Labyrinth, a vast network of pathways representing the complexities of managing drug toxicity. Each path leads to a different scenario, from opioid overdose to acetaminophen toxicity, with challenges that must be navigated using the knowledge of IT1. Elder Pixel, guiding them through the labyrinth. In this realm, you will learn to manage acute drug toxicity. The principles you have learned in interpreting data will now be applied to real-world scenarios. You must assess the patient, decide on the appropriate interventions, and document every step. For example, in an opioid overdose, you will administer naloxone, a competitive antagonist that reverses the effects of opioids. But you must also monitor the patient closely for signs of withdrawal and respiratory function. Kira, following a path marked with glowing symbols. And what about acetaminophen toxicity? How do we manage that? Elder Byte, pointing to a node in the labyrinth, acetaminophen toxicity is managed by first assessing the timing and amount of ingestion. The Rumack-Matthews nomogram will guide you in determining the risk of hepatotoxicity. N-acetylcysteine, NAC, is your antidote, replenishing glutathione stores and preventing liver damage. But timing is critical. Delays can lead to irreversible harm. Nia, looking around the labyrinth, there are so many paths, so many possibilities. How do we know which path to take? Elder Pixel, with a knowing smile, that is where your training in IT1 comes in. By following the protocols, documenting accurately, and using the data at your disposal, you will navigate these challenges with confidence. Remember, every decision you make must be recorded, every intervention justified. Act 4, the Nexus of Knowledge, synthesis and application scene. The journey leads to the Nexus of Knowledge, a central hub where all data streams converge. Here, the young ones are tasked with synthesizing everything they have learned, applying it to complex patient cases, and ensuring that their decisions are both evidence-based and well documented. Elder Byte, standing at the center of the Nexus, this is where it all comes together. In the Nexus, you must apply everything you have learned: interpretation, documentation, toxicity management, and the PPCP. You will encounter cases that challenge your knowledge, push your limits, and require you to synthesize data from multiple sources. Kira, confidently, we are ready, Elder. We have learned to document with precision, interpret with insight, and manage with care. We understand the importance of accuracy in every note, every plan. Nia, with determination, and we know that every decision must be backed by data, every action taken with the patient's best interest at heart. We are ready to navigate the Nexus. Elder Pixel, proudly, then go forth, young ones. Apply your knowledge, document your journey, and ensure that every patient in Sathira receives the best care possible. The digital realm is vast, but with your training, you will navigate it with skill and precision. Curtain falls as the young initiates step forward, prepared to apply their mastery of IT1 in the service of their world. The data streams glow brighter, symbolizing the knowledge and power they now hold. 100 detailed biostatistics questions with answers. What is the difference between a population and a sample in biostatistics? Answer: a population refers to the entire group of individuals or instances about whom we hope to learn, while a sample is a subset of that population, selected to represent the population in a study. Define the term parameter in biostatistics. Answer: a parameter is a numerical characteristic of a population, such as a population mean, variance, or proportion. What is a statistic in the context of biostatistics? Answer: a statistic is a numerical characteristic of a sample, such as a sample mean or sample proportion, used to estimate a population parameter. Explain the concept of sampling error. Answer: sampling error is the difference between a sample statistic and its corresponding population parameter due to the random selection of the sample. What is the purpose of descriptive statistics? Answer: descriptive statistics are used to summarize and describe the main features of a data set, including measures like mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation. How is the mean different from the median? Answer: the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of values, while the median is the middle value in a sorted list of numbers, which is less sensitive to extreme values. What is the standard deviation and what does it tell us? Answer: the standard deviation measures the amount of variation or dispersion in a set of values, indicating how spread out the values are around a mean. Define the term variance. Answer: variance is the average of the squared differences from the mean, representing the degree to which each number in the set is different from the mean. What is the difference between a confidence interval and a confidence level? Answer: a confidence interval is a range of values used to estimate a population parameter, while the confidence level is the probability that the interval contains the true parameter. Explain what a p-value represents in hypothesis testing. Answer: a p-value is the probability of obtaining test results at least as extreme as the ones observed during the test, assuming that the null hypothesis is true. What is a type I error in the context of hypothesis testing? Answer: a type I error occurs when the null hypothesis is rejected when it is actually true, false positive. What is a type 2 error? Answer: a type 2 error occurs when the null hypothesis is not rejected when it is actually false, false negative. Describe the purpose of an ANOVA test. Answer: ANOVA, analysis of variance, is used to compare the means of 3 or more samples to determine if at least one sample mean is different from the others. What is the chi-square test used for? Answer: the chi-square test is used to assess whether observed frequencies in a contingency table differ from expected frequencies. Define the term regression analysis. Answer: regression analysis is a statistical method used to examine the relationship between one dependent variable and one or more independent variables. What is the difference between simple and multiple regression? Answer: simple regression involves one independent variable and one dependent variable, while multiple regression involves two or more independent variables and one dependent variable. Explain the concept of correlation. Answer: correlation measures the strength and direction of a linear relationship between two variables. What does a correlation coefficient of 0 indicate? Answer: a correlation coefficient of 0 indicates no linear relationship between the two variables. What is the purpose of the t-test? Answer: the t-test is used to determine if there is a significant difference between the means of two groups. Differentiate between a one-tailed and a two-tailed test. Answer: a one-tailed test assesses the direction of the effect, testing for the possibility of the relationship in one direction, while a two-tailed test checks for any relationship regardless of direction. What is the central limit theorem? Answer: the central limit theorem states that the sampling distribution of the sample mean approaches a normal distribution as the sample size increases, regardless of the distribution of the population. Define null hypothesis. Answer: the null hypothesis is a statement that there is no effect or no difference, and it serves as the starting point for statistical testing. What is the alternative hypothesis? Answer: the alternative hypothesis is a statement that contradicts the null hypothesis, indicating that there is an effect or a difference. Explain the term power of a test. Answer: the power of a test is the probability that it correctly rejects a false null hypothesis, thus avoiding a type 2 error. What is the purpose of randomization in clinical trials? Answer: randomization is used to eliminate bias by equally distributing known and unknown confounding variables across treatment groups. Describe what a confidence interval of 95% means. Answer: a 95% confidence interval means that if the same population is sampled multiple times, 95% of the calculated intervals will contain the true population parameter. What is an outlier, and how can it affect statistical analysis? Answer: an outlier is an observation that lies an abnormal distance from other values in a data set, potentially skewing results and leading to incorrect conclusions. Define the term effect size. Answer: effect size is a quantitative measure of the magnitude of the experimental effect, used to indicate the strength of a phenomenon. Explain what a normal distribution is. Answer: a normal distribution is a probability distribution that is symmetric about the mean, with most of the observations clustering around a central peak. What is a skewed distribution? Answer: a skewed distribution is one where the values tend to cluster on one side of the mean, resulting in a long tail on one end. Differentiate between parametric and non-parametric tests. Answer: parametric tests assume underlying statistical distributions in the data, while non-parametric tests do not rely on any distributional assumptions. What is the purpose of a Kaplan-Meier curve? Answer: a Kaplan-Meier curve is used to estimate the survival function from lifetime data and to visualize the time until an event occurs, such as death or failure. Define the term hazard ratio. Answer: the hazard ratio is a measure of how often a particular event happens in one group compared to another, over time. What is logistic regression used for? Answer: logistic regression is used to model the probability of a binary outcome based on one or more predictor variables. Explain the concept of multicollinearity. Answer: multicollinearity occurs when two or more independent variables in a regression model are highly correlated, making it difficult to isolate the effect of each variable. What is the Bonferroni correction? Answer: the Bonferroni correction is a statistical adjustment made to p-values to account for multiple comparisons, reducing the chance of type I errors. Define residual in the context of regression analysis. Answer: a residual is the difference between the observed value and the value predicted by the regression model. What is the purpose of stratification in biostatistics? Answer: stratification involves dividing a sample into subgroups before analysis to ensure that the relationship between variables is not confounded by the effects of other variables. What is a cohort study? Answer: a cohort study is an observational study where a group of individuals is followed over time to observe outcomes relative to an exposure or intervention. Explain the concept of a case control study. Answer: a case control study is an observational study that compares individuals with a specific condition, cases, to those without the condition, controls, to identify factors that may contribute to the condition. What is the difference between incidence and prevalence? Answer: incidence refers to the number of new cases of a disease that develop in a specific population during a specific time period, while prevalence refers to the total number of cases of a disease in a population at a given time. Define the term risk ratio. Answer: the risk ratio is the ratio of the probability of an event occurring in the exposed group to the probability of the event occurring in the non-exposed group. What is the difference between sensitivity and specificity? Answer: sensitivity is the ability of a test to correctly identify those with the disease, true positive rate, while specificity is the ability of a test to correctly identify those without the disease, true negative rate. Explain the concept of positive predictive value. Answer: the positive predictive value is the probability that individuals with a positive test result actually have the disease. What is negative predictive value? Answer: the negative predictive value is the probability that individuals with a negative test result truly do not have the disease. What does the term confounding variable mean? Answer: a confounding variable is an outside influence that affects both the independent variable and dependent variable, potentially leading to a false association. Explain the term attrition bias. Answer: attrition bias occurs when participants drop out of a study in a non-random manner, potentially leading to biased results. What is an intention to treat analysis? Answer: intention to treat analysis includes all participants in the groups to which they were originally assigned, regardless of whether they completed the treatment according to the study protocol. Describe the term regression to the mean. Answer: regression to the mean is the tendency for extreme or unusual results to return towards the average on subsequent measurements. What is the purpose of a crossover study design? Answer: a crossover study design allows participants to receive multiple treatments in a sequential order, with each participant serving as their own control. Explain the term publication bias. Answer: publication bias occurs when studies with positive or significant results are more likely to be published than studies with null or negative results. What is a forest plot, and when is it used? Answer: a forest plot is a graphical representation used in meta-analyses to display the estimated results from multiple studies, showing the variation in effect sizes and the overall estimate. What is the difference between random and systematic error? Answer: random error occurs due to chance and affects the precision of results, while systematic error, bias, consistently skews results in a particular direction. Define the term meta-analysis. Answer: meta-analysis is a statistical technique that combines the results of multiple studies to obtain a pooled estimate of the effect size. What is the purpose of blinding in clinical trials? Answer: blinding is used to prevent bias by ensuring that participants and/or investigators do not know which treatment group the participants are in, thus preventing preconceived expectations from influencing outcomes. Explain the concept of generalizability. Answer: generalizability refers to the extent to which the results of a study can be applied to populations outside the study sample. What is an independent variable? Answer: an independent variable is the variable that is manipulated or categorized to observe its effect on the dependent variable. Define the term dependent variable. Answer: a dependent variable is the outcome variable that is measured in a study and is expected to change due to the manipulation of the independent variable. What is the purpose of a control group? Answer: a control group is used as a baseline to compare the effects of the experimental treatment and determine if the treatment had any effect. Explain what is meant by relative risk. Answer: relative risk is the ratio of the probability of an event occurring in the exposed group to the probability of the event occurring in the control or non-exposed group. What is the difference between absolute risk and relative risk? Answer: absolute risk refers to the actual chance of an event occurring, while relative risk compares the risk between two groups. Describe the term dose-response relationship. Answer: a dose-response relationship is the relationship between the amount of exposure to a substance and the magnitude of the effect it causes. What is a null distribution in hypothesis testing? Answer: the null distribution is the theoretical distribution of the test statistic under the null hypothesis, used to determine the p-value. Explain the term interaction effect. Answer: an interaction effect occurs when the effect of one independent variable on the dependent variable depends on the level of another independent variable. What is a repeated measures design? Answer: a repeated measures design is a type of experimental design where the same subjects are exposed to all treatments or conditions, allowing for comparisons within subjects. Define odds ratio. Answer: the odds ratio is a measure of association between an exposure and an outcome, representing the odds that the outcome will occur given a particular exposure, compared to the odds of the outcome occurring without the exposure. What is heterogeneity in a meta-analysis? Answer: heterogeneity refers to the variation in study outcomes between studies included in a meta-analysis, which may be due to differences in study populations, interventions, or methodologies. Explain the purpose of a funnel plot. Answer: a funnel plot is used to detect publication bias in meta-analyses by plotting the treatment effect against study size or precision. What does standard error measure? Answer: the standard error measures the accuracy with which a sample statistic estimates the population parameter, indicating the variability of the sample mean. Define null hypothesis significance testing, NHST. Answer: NHST is a framework for making inferences about population parameters based on sample data, involving the formulation and testing of a null hypothesis against an alternative hypothesis. What is multivariate analysis? Answer: multivariate analysis involves examining multiple variables simultaneously to understand relationships between them and the impact on a dependent variable. Describe the purpose of a Mann-Whitney U-test. Answer: the Mann-Whitney U-test is a non-parametric test used to compare differences between two independent groups when the dependent variable is ordinal or not normally distributed. What is a non-inferiority trial? Answer: a non-inferiority trial is designed to demonstrate that a new treatment is not worse than an existing treatment by more than a specified margin. Explain the concept of equivalence testing. Answer: equivalence testing aims to demonstrate that two treatments produce similar outcomes within a predefined margin, indicating no significant difference between them. Define the term cluster sampling. Answer: cluster sampling is a sampling method where the population is divided into clusters, and a random sample of these clusters is selected for study. What is the purpose of standardization in biostatistics? Answer: standardization is used to remove the effects of confounding variables by adjusting measurements to a standard, allowing for fair comparisons between groups. Explain the concept of matching in case control studies. Answer: matching involves selecting controls that are similar to cases on certain characteristics to reduce confounding and improve the validity of the study. What is systematic review? Answer: a systematic review is a comprehensive and structured synthesis of research evidence on a particular topic, using predefined criteria to identify, evaluate, and summarize relevant studies. Define external validity. Answer: external validity refers to the extent to which the results of a study can be generalized to other settings, populations, and times. What is internal validity? Answer: internal validity is the extent to which a study accurately measures the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable, without being affected by confounding factors. Explain propensity score matching. Answer: propensity score matching is a statistical technique used to reduce bias in observational studies by matching participants with similar propensity scores, representing the likelihood of receiving the treatment based on observed characteristics. What is the placebo effect? Answer: the placebo effect is a psychological phenomenon where patients experience real improvements in their condition after receiving a treatment with no therapeutic value, simply because they believe it will work. Define longitudinal study. Answer: a longitudinal study follows the same subjects over a period of time, observing changes in variables of interest. What is a cross-sectional study? Answer: a cross-sectional study examines data from a population at a single point in time, providing a snapshot of the variables of interest. Explain the purpose of regression diagnostics. Answer: regression diagnostics involve checking the assumptions of regression models and identifying any potential issues, such as outliers or multicollinearity, that may affect the model's validity. What is relative risk reduction? Answer: relative risk reduction is the percentage reduction in risk achieved by an intervention compared to a control, calculated as the difference in risk between the two groups divided by the risk in the control group. Define attributable risk. Answer: attributable risk is the difference in the rate of a condition between an exposed population and an unexposed population, indicating the amount of risk attributable to the exposure. What is biostatistical inference? Answer: biostatistical inference is the process of drawing conclusions about population parameters based on sample data, often involving estimation and hypothesis testing. Explain the term effect modification. Answer: effect modification occurs when the effect of the main exposure on an outcome varies according to the level of another variable, known as the effect modifier. What is a dose escalation study? Answer: a dose escalation study involves gradually increasing the dose of a drug to determine the maximum tolerated dose or to establish a dose-response relationship. Define the term null hypothesis. Answer: the null hypothesis is a default statement that there is no effect or no difference, which researchers seek to test and potentially reject. What is alpha error? Answer: alpha error, or type I error, occurs when a true null hypothesis is incorrectly rejected, indicating a false positive result. Explain beta error. Answer: beta error, or type II error, occurs when a false null hypothesis is incorrectly accepted, indicating a false negative result. What is the level of significance? Answer: the level of significance is the threshold used in hypothesis testing to determine whether to reject the null hypothesis, commonly set at 0.05. Define nonparametric statistics. Answer: nonparametric statistics are statistical methods that do not assume a specific distribution for the data, often used when data do not meet the assumptions required for parametric tests. What is the Wilcoxon-signed rank test? Answer: the Wilcoxon-signed rank test is a nonparametric test used to compare paired or matched samples to assess whether their population mean ranks differ. Explain interquartile range. Answer: the interquartile range is the range between the first quartile, 25th percentile, and the third quartile, 75th percentile, representing the middle 50% of the data. What is a z-score? Answer: a z-score represents the number of standard deviations a data point is from the mean, used to standardize data points for comparison. Define heteroscedasticity. Answer: heteroscedasticity refers to the presence of non-constant variance in the errors of a regression model, which can invalidate statistical inferences. What is bootstrapping in statistics? Answer: bootstrapping is a resampling technique used to estimate the distribution of a statistic by repeatedly sampling with replacement from the original data, allowing for the assessment of its variability. Allegory for biostatistics: in the land where numbers freely roam, and every statistic finds a home, lived a young scholar, bright and keen, with a love for science that could be seen. To master biostats, I must learn the art of how to make the data smart, to draw conclusions wise and true, and know what each result can do. He wandered through the valley of means, where averages danced in linear streams. He learned that some were skewed and tall, while others sat quite close to all. Then up the hill of variance he climbed, where deviations were highly primed. They tell of spread, both wide and tight, to gauge the scatter in plain sight. He met the queen, hypothesis fair, with null and alternative in the air. To test my claims, she did decree, set your alpha and beta free. In the forest deep, p-values hide, deciding where truth and error collide. Beware of type I and II, they warned, false positives and negatives scorned. Through the meadows of confidence he strode, where intervals in harmony bode, between these bounds, the truth shall stay, with 95% of the time in sway. He entered the castle of regression, where relations found their expression. Linearity and slopes must check, lest multicollinearity wreck. In the courtyard, correlation played, where variables in pairs were laid. Be sure not to confuse with cause, for correlation has its laws. The mighty ANOVA stood on guard, testing groups with strength and barred. Compare their means, but don't you fret, for variance gives what you'll get. He sailed the seas of randomized trials, where blinding and control ruled the isles. To eliminate the bias strong, randomize your groups along. Through the caverns of error he fell, where residuals and SES dwell. Adjust your model, make it right, or your conclusions might take flight. And in the garden of survival he rested, where time and events were tested. The Kaplan-Meier curves did grow, telling of hazards high and low. At last, he reached the Metas peak, where studies combine the answers seek. A forest plot, the wise man said, will show you where the evidence led. With all these tools, he now could see the world of biostats clearly. He wielded knowledge, sharp and true, and conquered data, as scholars do. So, in the realm of stats, it's known that mastery comes when seeds are sown. Plant your questions, let them grow, and in time, the answers flow. Thus ends our tale, in rhythmic lines, of biostats and its many signs. With diligence and a keen insight, you too can master this field so bright. You said, now make an allegory in the Caribbean that describes with technical precision the details needed to understand and master biostats. Make this as long as possible for one output in the Caribbean, beneath the sky so blue, where the sun kissed the waves and the palm trees grew, lived an old wise captain, name of Pharmacist, with a boat full of charts, and a treasure of facts. He sailed through islands with a crew so keen, each one eager to learn the biostats scene. Young Coco, brave, with a thirst for knowledge, set her sails for learning beyond the college. Pharmacist, she said with eyes aglow, teach me the secrets that I must know. I wish to master the numbers and trends, to decipher the data and see where it bends. Pharmacist grinned, his teeth like pearls, and the wind filled the sails, making them twirl. Come aboard, young Coco, let's set a course, through the waves of stats with unstoppable force. As they sailed by port probability, Pharmacist taught with great agility, in this bay, you must understand, the likelihoods that rule the land. Probabilities, dear, tell us true, the chances that events ensue. He pulled out a coin, shining and bright, and flipped it high, into the night. Here's a 50-50 chance, you see, heads or tails, the probability. Coco smiled as she grasped it well, the laws of chance began to gel. Next, they sailed past Sampling Cove, where data nets in the waters strove. Samples, he said, are pieces of the whole, pulled from the sea, from pole to pole. But beware, my dear, of sampling bias, it can lead to errors so high and pious. Pharmacist cast a net and hauled it in, filled with fish, some fat, some thin. A random sample, fair and square, is the key to conclusions that are rare. Coco asked, but what of the mean? Is it the best of all the stats we've seen? Pharmacist laughed, the mean is just, but the median too, in it you must trust. If outliers skew your data high, the median will guide you by and by. Next, they drifted by the Isle of Spread, where variance and standard deviation tread. Variance tells how far things stray, from the mean, how much they play. And the standard deviation, my dear, is the square root of variance, clear. Coco nodded, the concept's now tight, as she saw the range and variance in a new light. Pharmacist pulled the wheel with might, and the boat swung round, sharp and right. They approached the Strait of Hypothesis Bay, where truths and assumptions hold sway. The null, said Stats, is a simple creed, that no effect is present, indeed. But the alternative stands to show, that something's happening, we must know. Reject the null, Pharmacist did say, when p-values tell you in a statistical way. But heed this warning, Coco, dear, type I errors are what we fear. They'll claim an effect where none exists, a false positive that should not persist. And what of type 2? Coco asked, clear-eyed. Pharmacist smiled, and then replied, a type 2 error is quite the plight, when the truth is hidden out of sight. You fail to reject the null, you see, when an effect exists, but silently. They sailed past the cliffs of confidence shore, where intervals stretched forevermore. A 95% confidence band, means the true parameters close at hand, within this range, 95 times out of 100, the true mean lies, by this rule we're funded. The waves rolled in, the ship pressed on, and soon they reached regression atoll's dawn. Pharmacist pointed to the beach, look there, where dependent and independent variables share. Regression helps us understand the tie, between them both, the how and why. With linear regression, Stats explained with pride, we find the slope of the data's ride. A line through the scatter will give us a clue, to predict the outcomes when X turns into Y, true. But what if the data isn't straight, asked Coco. Pharmacist said, there's more to know. Multiple regression handles more, when several factors are at the core. It lets us adjust and measure their weight, and predicts outcomes with higher state. They drifted now toward the Bay of T-tests, where comparisons between two groups find rest. To compare means between two shores, a T-test opens many doors. It tells if differences arise by chance, or if one group truly holds advance. But Coco, Stats said, remember this tale, of two-tailed and one-tailed without fail. A two-tailed test seeks differences wide, while one-tailed measures just one side. Choose wisely the test you wield, for it guides the stats on which we build. Next, they cruised through ANOVA's reef, where comparisons were sharp and brief. ANOVA's power is broad, said Stats, comparing more than two means, it's where it's at. If variance between groups grows high, ANOVA will show us the reason why. As they left the reefs, the sea turned calm, and Pharmacist hummed a gentle psalm. Now, dear Coco, we sail to Chi Square Bay, where categories meet in a meaningful way. The chi-square test, though simple it seems, measures expected and observed in reams. They anchored near a village of counts, where contingency tables rose in mounts. The chi-square's purpose is often clear, to show if distributions differ here. It works with counts, not means or medians, to test associations, sharp and expedient. Coco felt the winds of knowledge blow, her understanding began to grow. But still she asked, what's left to know? How else does the biostat see flow? Papa Stats gazed far into the sky, where the clouds of correlation fluttered by. Ah, correlation, he said with a grin, measures how two variables can. When one moves up, the other might too, but correlation doesn't prove causality true. With compass in hand, Stats turned to the west, survival analysis now puts us to the test. In medical stats, this method's gold, when time until events are foretold. The Kaplan-Meier curve charts our way through life and death, day by day. In the distance, a lighthouse gleamed, that's the Cox proportional hazard, Stats beamed. It accounts for risk over time you see, adjusting for covariates cleverly. It shows how hazards shift and play, as life events come into the fray. The sun began to set, a glowing red, and Coco leaned back, her mind well fed. Papa Stats, you've shown me the way through means, variance, and ANOVA's bay. I've learned of tests, of errors, and more, but I crave to understand just one thing more. Papa Stats chuckled, his eyes so bright, there's still the sea of Bayesian insight. Frequentist methods, you've seen today, but Bayesian stats have their own way. They update beliefs with each new clue, incorporating data that's fresh and true. The posterior probability they provide, gives more context as the tides slide. It's a flexible method, adaptable and wise, useful when prior knowledge ties. The stars came out, the night was near, but biostats held no more fear. Coco knew the sea by heart, each island, reef, and charted part. From sampling bias to regression sway, she had learned it all in one bright day. Papa Stats smiled, his mission done, for Coco had learned and now begun. The sea of biostats was vast and wide, but she could navigate with pride. With charts and nets, she'd now set sail, to cast her lines in data's tail. In the Caribbean's waves, soft and slow, Coco now knew which way to row. With precision and care, she'd chart her quest, in the world of biostats, she'd be the best. 100 detailed questions with answers on pharmacokinetics and biopharmaceutics. What is pharmacokinetics? Answer: pharmacokinetics is the study of how drugs move through the body, including the processes of absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. Define bioavailability and its significance. Answer: bioavailability refers to the proportion of a drug that enters the systemic circulation when introduced into the body and is available to have an active effect. It's crucial for determining the correct dosage of a drug. What is the first pass effect? Answer: the first pass effect is the metabolism of a drug in the liver after oral administration and before it reaches systemic circulation, reducing the bioavailability of the drug. Explain the term volume of distribution. Answer: the volume of distribution, VD, is a theoretical volume that a drug would have to occupy to provide the same concentration as it does in blood plasma. It indicates how extensively a drug distributes into body tissues. What factors can affect drug absorption? Answer: factors include the drug's formulation, route of administration, blood flow to the absorption site, surface area available for absorption, and the presence of food or other substances in the GI tract. Describe passive diffusion in drug absorption. Answer: passive diffusion is the movement of drug molecules from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration across cell membranes without the use of energy. What is active transport in the context of pharmacokinetics? Answer: active transport is the movement of drug molecules against a concentration gradient, requiring energy, often through specialized transport proteins in cell membranes. How does protein binding affect drug distribution? Answer: drugs bound to plasma proteins are not free to leave the bloodstream and exert effects on tissues, thus only the unbound fraction of a drug is pharmacologically active. What is the significance of the blood-brain barrier in pharmacokinetics? Answer: the blood-brain barrier is a selective barrier that prevents many substances from entering the brain, affecting the distribution of drugs to the central nervous system. Define drug clearance. Answer: drug clearance is the volume of plasma from which a drug is completely removed per unit time, a critical parameter in determining dosing rates. What is the half-life of a drug? Answer: the half-life is the time required for the concentration of the drug in the bloodstream to reduce by half. It is important for determining dosing intervals. Explain the difference between zero-order and first-order kinetics. Answer: first-order kinetics means the rate of drug elimination is proportional to its concentration, while in zero-order kinetics, the drug is eliminated at a constant rate regardless of concentration. What role does the liver play in drug metabolism? Answer: the liver is the primary site of drug metabolism, where it transforms lipophilic drugs into more hydrophilic forms for easier excretion. Describe phase I reactions in drug metabolism. Answer: phase I reactions involve the introduction or unmasking of a functional group on the drug molecule, often through oxidation, reduction, or hydrolysis, making the drug more polar. What are phase II reactions? Answer: phase II reactions involve conjugation, where the drug or its metabolites are linked with an endogenous substance, e.g., glucuronic acid, to increase solubility for excretion. How does renal excretion work in drug elimination? Answer: drugs are filtered from the blood by the kidneys and excreted in urine. The process involves glomerular filtration, tubular secretion, and sometimes reabsorption. What is biliary excretion? Answer: biliary excretion is the process where drugs are secreted into the bile by the liver and eliminated in the feces, often involving enterohepatic recycling. What is enterohepatic recirculation? Answer: enterohepatic recirculation occurs when a drug excreted into the bile is reabsorbed from the intestine back into the bloodstream, prolonging its presence in the body. Define therapeutic index. Answer: the therapeutic index is the ratio between the toxic dose and the therapeutic dose of a drug, indicating its safety margin. What is a loading dose, and why is it used? Answer: a loading dose is an initial higher dose of a drug given to rapidly achieve a therapeutic concentration in the body, followed by lower maintenance doses. Explain the concept of steady-state concentration. Answer: steady-state concentration is the point at which the drug's intake equals its elimination, resulting in a consistent level of the drug in the bloodstream. What factors can alter the half-life of a drug? Answer: factors include liver and kidney function, age, genetic factors, interactions with other drugs, and the presence of diseases affecting metabolism or excretion. How does age affect pharmacokinetics? Answer: age can alter pharmacokinetics due to changes in body composition, organ function, e.g., decreased renal function, and altered drug metabolism, often requiring dosage adjustments. What is pharmacogenomics? Answer: pharmacogenomics is the study of how genetic variations affect a person's response to drugs, influencing drug efficacy and the risk of adverse effects. Describe the role of cytochrome P450 enzymes in drug metabolism. Answer: cytochrome P450 enzymes are involved in the oxidative metabolism of many drugs, making them more water-soluble and facilitating their excretion. What is the significance of drug-drug interactions? Answer: drug-drug interactions can alter the pharmacokinetics or pharmacodynamics of a drug, leading to reduced efficacy or increased risk of toxicity. Explain the concept of first-order elimination. Answer: in first-order elimination, the rate of drug elimination is directly proportional to the drug's concentration in the blood, with a constant fraction of the drug being removed per unit time. What is the importance of renal function in drug clearance? Answer: renal function is crucial for the elimination of drugs and their metabolites, especially for drugs that are excreted unchanged by the kidneys. Define bioequivalence. Answer: bioequivalence refers to the comparison between two drugs that have the same bioavailability and same effect at the same dose, often comparing a generic drug to a brand name counterpart. What is therapeutic drug monitoring, TDM? Answer: TDM involves measuring drug concentrations in the blood at designated intervals to ensure a constant therapeutic level and avoid toxicity. Explain what is meant by drug redistribution. Answer: drug redistribution occurs when a drug initially enters highly perfused tissues and then redistributes to other tissues, affecting its duration of action. What is the impact of protein binding on drug action? Answer: drugs that are highly protein bound have a lower free concentration in the blood, which can reduce their active effects and slow their elimination. Describe the concept of clearance. Answer: clearance is the volume of plasma from which a substance is completely removed per unit time, influencing the maintenance dose required to sustain drug levels. What factors can lead to drug accumulation? Answer: drug accumulation can occur if the dosing interval is shorter than the half-life or if the elimination processes are impaired, leading to potential toxicity. How does the route of administration affect pharmacokinetics? Answer: the route of administration affects the absorption rate and bioavailability of a drug, influencing the onset, intensity, and duration of its effects. What is the significance of peak plasma concentration? Answer: peak plasma concentration is the highest concentration of a drug in the bloodstream after administration, reflecting the maximum effect of the drug. Define trough level in pharmacokinetics. Answer: trough level is the lowest concentration of a drug in the bloodstream, typically measured just before the next dose, ensuring the drug stays within the therapeutic range. What is the role of the liver in drug detoxification? Answer: the liver detoxifies drugs through metabolic processes, converting them into less active or more easily excretable forms. Describe the pharmacokinetic term area under the curve, AUC. Answer: AUC represents the total drug exposure over time, indicating the extent of absorption and overall bioavailability of a drug. Explain the term pharmacodynamics. Answer: pharmacodynamics is the study of the biochemical and physiological effects of drugs on the body and the mechanisms of their action. What is the difference between pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics? Answer: Pharmacokinetics deals with the movement of drugs within the body, while pharmacodynamics concerns the drug's effects on the body. How do genetic factors influence drug metabolism? Answer: Genetic variations can affect enzyme activity, altering the rate at which a drug is metabolized, potentially leading to different therapeutic outcomes or adverse effects. What is an adverse drug reaction, ADR? Answer: An ADR is an unwanted or harmful reaction experienced after the administration of a drug, which is related to the drug itself rather than the disease. What is dose-response relationship in pharmacokinetics? Answer: The dose-response relationship describes how the magnitude of a drug's effect changes with varying doses, typically represented by a dose-response curve. Define steady-state concentration. Answer: Steady-state concentration is achieved when the rate of drug administration equals the rate of elimination, resulting in a consistent drug level in the bloodstream. How does pH affect drug absorption? Answer: The pH of the environment can influence the ionization state of a drug, affecting its solubility and ability to cross cell membranes for absorption. What is the significance of therapeutic window? Answer: The therapeutic window is the range of drug doses that produces effective treatment without causing significant adverse effects. Explain the concept of pharmacokinetic modeling. Answer: Pharmacokinetic modeling involves using mathematical models to predict how a drug behaves in the body over time, helping in the design of dosing regimens. What factors influence the distribution of a drug in the body? Answer: Factors include blood flow to tissues, the drug's solubility, the permeability of cell membranes, and the extent of protein binding. How does liver disease affect drug metabolism? Answer: Liver disease can impair the metabolism of drugs, leading to prolonged drug action, accumulation, and increased risk of toxicity. What is the role of the kidney in drug excretion? Answer: The kidney filters the blood, removing waste products and drugs, which are excreted in the urine. It plays a critical role in regulating drug levels in the body. How does renal impairment affect drug elimination? Answer: Renal impairment reduces the excretion of drugs, potentially leading to drug accumulation and toxicity, requiring dosage adjustments. What is meant by enzyme induction in drug metabolism? Answer: Enzyme induction is the increase in enzyme activity, often due to exposure to certain drugs or chemicals, leading to faster metabolism and reduced drug efficacy. Explain the concept of enzyme inhibition in pharmacokinetics. Answer: Enzyme inhibition occurs when a substance decreases the activity of enzymes, slowing drug metabolism and potentially leading to increased drug levels and toxicity. What is a prodrug? Answer: A prodrug is an inactive or less active substance that is metabolized in the body to produce an active drug, often used to improve bioavailability or reduce side effects. Define half-life in the context of pharmacokinetics. Answer: Half-life is the time required for the concentration of a drug in the blood to decrease by half, influencing the duration of action and dosing frequency. What are the phases of drug metabolism? Answer: Drug metabolism typically involves two phases, phase I, functionalization, and phase II, conjugation, where drugs are chemically altered for easier excretion. How does the route of administration influence the onset of drug action? Answer: The route of administration affects how quickly a drug reaches systemic circulation and its site of action, with intravenous administration providing the fastest onset. What is a maintenance dose? Answer: A maintenance dose is the amount of a drug needed to maintain the therapeutic concentration after achieving the desired level with a loading dose. Explain the difference between loading dose and maintenance dose. Answer: A loading dose rapidly achieves the desired drug concentration, while a maintenance dose maintains this concentration over time. What role does the GI tract play in drug absorption? Answer: The GI tract is where orally administered drugs are absorbed into the bloodstream, influenced by factors such as pH, motility, and the presence of food. What is the importance of drug solubility in pharmacokinetics? Answer: Drug solubility affects the rate and extent of absorption, distribution, and excretion, with poorly soluble drugs often having lower bioavailability. How does drug ionization affect absorption? Answer: Ionized drugs are less likely to cross cell membranes compared to their non-ionized counterparts, affecting absorption rates. What is therapeutic equivalence? Answer: Therapeutic equivalence refers to two drugs that provide the same clinical effect and safety profile when administered in the same dosage form and regimen. Define pharmacokinetic drug-drug interaction. Answer: A pharmacokinetic drug-drug interaction occurs when one drug affects the absorption, distribution, metabolism, or excretion of another, altering its effects. What is the role of albumin in drug distribution? Answer: Albumin binds to many drugs in the bloodstream, reducing the free, active concentration and affecting distribution and elimination. Describe the impact of obesity on drug pharmacokinetics. Answer: Obesity can increase the volume of distribution for lipophilic drugs, potentially requiring higher doses to achieve therapeutic effects. What is drug compartmentalization in pharmacokinetics? Answer: Drug compartmentalization refers to the distribution of a drug into various body compartments, e.g., blood, fat, tissues, affecting its pharmacokinetic behavior. How does food intake influence drug absorption? Answer: food can enhance, delay, or inhibit drug absorption depending on the drug's properties and the interaction with food components. What is a drug's max? Answer: max is the maximum concentration of a drug in the bloodstream after administration, indicating peak exposure. Explain the concept of drug elimination. Answer: drug elimination is the process of removing the drug from the body, primarily through metabolism and excretion. How does hepatic impairment affect drug metabolism? Answer: hepatic impairment can slow drug metabolism, leading to increased drug levels, prolonged effects, and a higher risk of toxicity. What is the significance of drug receptor binding in pharmacodynamics? Answer: drug receptor binding determines the drug's ability to produce a biological effect, with the strength and duration of binding affecting the overall therapeutic outcome. What is an agonist in pharmacodynamics? Answer: an agonist is a substance that binds to a receptor and activates it, mimicking the action of a naturally occurring substance. Define antagonist in the context of drug action. Answer: an antagonist is a substance that binds to a receptor but does not activate it, blocking the action of agonists or endogenous substances. What is a partial agonist? Answer: a partial agonist binds to and activates a receptor but produces a weaker, partial response compared to a full agonist. Explain the term pharmacokinetic variability. Answer: pharmacokinetic variability refers to differences in drug absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion between individuals, affecting drug response. What factors contribute to pharmacokinetic variability? Answer: factors include age, gender, genetics, body weight, organ function, disease state, and interactions with other drugs. What is dose proportionality in pharmacokinetics? Answer: dose proportionality occurs when the pharmacokinetic parameters, e.g., max, AUC, increase proportionally with the dose, indicating predictable drug behavior. Describe the concept of saturation kinetics. Answer: saturation kinetics occurs when the drug metabolizing enzymes or transporters become saturated at high drug concentrations, leading to nonlinear pharmacokinetics. What is Michaelis-Menten kinetics? Answer: Michaelis-Menten kinetics describes the rate of enzymatic reactions, where the reaction rate increases with substrate concentration until a maximum velocity is reached. What is a pharmacokinetic profile? Answer: a pharmacokinetic profile is a comprehensive description of how a drug is absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and excreted over time. What is the role of pH in renal drug excretion? Answer: urinary pH affects drug reabsorption in the kidneys, with acidic or basic drugs being trapped and excreted more readily in urine with the opposite pH. Explain the importance of therapeutic drug levels. Answer: maintaining therapeutic drug levels ensures that the drug concentration stays within the effective range, avoiding subtherapeutic levels or toxicity. What is the pharmacokinetic phase of drug action? Answer: the pharmacokinetic phase involves the processes that determine the concentration of the drug at its site of action, including absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. How do you calculate the loading dose? Answer: the loading dose is calculated using the formula, loading dose equals, target concentration volume of distribution, / bioavailability. What is therapeutic window? Answer: the therapeutic window is the range of drug concentrations between the minimum effective concentration and the minimum toxic concentration. How is pharmacokinetics used in dose adjustment? Answer: pharmacokinetics helps in adjusting doses based on individual factors like age, organ function, and genetic differences to optimize therapy and minimize side effects. What is a pharmacokinetic interaction? Answer: a pharmacokinetic interaction occurs when one drug affects the ADME, absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, of another drug, altering its effects. What is the significance of bioequivalence studies? Answer: bioequivalence studies compare the bioavailability of the same active drug in different formulations to ensure they produce the same effect. Explain the term clearance in pharmacokinetics. Answer: clearance is the volume of plasma from which a drug is completely removed per unit time, determining the rate of drug elimination. What is drug potency? Answer: drug potency refers to the amount of drug needed to produce a given effect, with more potent drugs requiring lower doses to achieve the same effect. What is the impact of drug formulation on pharmacokinetics? Answer: drug formulation can affect the rate and extent of drug absorption, influencing bioavailability and therapeutic outcomes. How do food-drug interactions affect pharmacokinetics? Answer: food-drug interactions can alter the absorption, metabolism, and excretion of drugs, leading to changes in drug efficacy and safety. What is nonlinear pharmacokinetics? Answer: nonlinear pharmacokinetics occurs when changes in dose lead to disproportionate changes in drug concentration, often due to saturation of metabolic pathways. What is the impact of renal impairment on drug dosing? Answer: Renal impairment can reduce drug clearance, necessitating dose adjustments to avoid toxicity and maintain therapeutic efficacy. Explain the concept of drug half-life. Answer: drug half-life is the time it takes for the drug concentration in the bloodstream to decrease by 50%, influencing dosing intervals and duration of action. What factors influence drug distribution? Answer: factors include blood flow, tissue permeability, drug solubility, and protein binding, affecting how and where a drug is distributed in the body. What is the role of the cytochrome P450 system in drug metabolism? Answer: the cytochrome P450 system is a group of enzymes responsible for the oxidative metabolism of many drugs, affecting their clearance and potential interactions. What is pharmacokinetic variability? Answer: pharmacokinetic variability refers to differences in drug absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion among individuals, influenced by genetics, age, health status, and interactions. Allegory for pharmacokinetics and biopharmaceutics in a mystical archipelago, far and wide, where the seas of knowledge meet the pharmacokinetic tide, there lived a wise old sailor, Captain Kinetics by name. He knew the dance of molecules, the rules of the game. The islands of biopharmaceutica lay in a line, each one a treasure, a concept so fine. With his young apprentice, Bio the Keen, they set sail on a journey to make the unseen, seen. They began at the Isle of Absorption Bay, where drugs enter the blood and begin their way. The journey of 1,000 miles, said the captain with flair, begins with a step, a dose of care. Through membranes they pass, some fast, some slow, by passive diffusion or active flow. But beware the stomach's acidic churn, for some drugs will dissolve, others will burn. Bio asked, how do they survive the ride? Ah, said the captain, that's where enteric coatings abide. And remember, young one, the first pass straight, where the liver decides each drug's fate. They sailed to distribution reef, broad and wide, where drugs spread out, with the bloodstream as their guide. Here lies the volume of distribution, said the wise old sage, where drugs can hide in tissue or simply engage. But what makes them linger, and what makes them flee? Asked Bio, eyes wide with curiosity. It's the binding to proteins, like a tether on a kite, only the free drug flies high and out of sight. Next, they approached the metabolism shore, where the liver's enzymes made molecules no more. Here in phase I, the drugs do change, oxidized, reduced, rearranged. In phase II, he continued, they conjugate, making drugs more polar, sealing their fate. For excretion is nigh, through the kidney's gate, or the bile, if enterohepatic recirculation awaits. Bio marveled at the intricate dance, as drugs were transformed, almost by chance. But captain, what of the half-life's play, how long do drugs in the body stay? Ah, the half-life, said the captain, with a nod so wise, is the time it takes for the drug to downsize. By half it's gone, in a blink or more, guiding the dosing that we adore. Through the passage of excretion, their ship did steer, where the kidneys and bile made drugs disappear. Clearance is key, the captain did say, how fast a drug leaves, dictates the way. They sailed to the island of steady state, where equilibrium was the drug's fate. Here, young Bio, the balance is clear, between what goes in and what disappears. With the wind in their sails, they charted a course, through the seas of drug interactions, the waves of force. Some drugs induce, some inhibit the flow, of enzymes like CYP450, you must know. They speed up the clearance or slow it down, affecting each drug's dose and renown. This is the dance of kinetics you see, adjusting doses for harmony. The ship docked at the bay of bioavailability, where not all drugs reached full capability. The fraction that enters, unchanged and true, determines the dose that is effective for you. Bio pondered the lesson so deep, as Captain Kinetics prepared for sleep. Master these seas, said the captain with pride, and you'll navigate pharmacokinetics with the tide. In the still of the night, with stars shining bright, Bio knew he'd learned what was right. For in the world of drugs, so vast and grand, understanding kinetics gave him command. And so ends our tale on this pharmacokinetic ride, where knowledge of drugs is our trusted guide. In the archipelago of biopharmaceutics fair, master the concepts, and you'll be aware. For the dance of drugs, from start to end, is a journey of science, where wisdom blends. With each dose, each molecule, a story is told, in the hands of a learner, the future unfolds. Title, The Chronicles of Kinesia, A Journey Through the Stars of Science Act 1, The Awakening Scene, in the distant future, on the planet Kinesia, a world where technology and ancient wisdom coexist, the elders of the planet gather to prepare the young ones for their rite of passage mastery over the sciences that govern life itself. The air hums with energy, and the sky glows with the light of distant stars. Elder Kwaku, with a voice that echoes through the vast halls, young ones, today you embark on a journey unlike any other. You will traverse the cosmos, not through the stars themselves, but through the knowledge that binds them. We will teach you the arts of biostatistics, pharmacokinetics, and biopharmaceutics, the very sciences that flow through your veins and the ether of our world. Ao, a young initiate, curious and bold. Elder, what do these words mean? How do they connect with the stars above and the life we lead below? Elder Naya, with eyes glowing like embers, biostatistics is the language of probability and data, the way we make sense of the vast patterns of life. Pharmacokinetics is the dance of medicines within the body, how they move and change. And biopharmaceutics is the art of shaping those medicines, ensuring they reach their destination with power and precision. Elder Kwaku, raising his staff, the symbol of knowledge, to understand, you must first awaken your inner sight. Let us begin with the threads of life biostatistics. Act 2, the threads of life scene. The young ones are transported to a cosmic web, where each star represents a data point, and the connections between them form the patterns of life. Elder Naya, guiding the young ones through the web, each star here is a life, a number, a point of data. Together, they form the tapestry of existence. But to see the whole picture, you must understand the patterns, the mean, the median, the standard deviation. These are the measures that define the rhythm of life. Zuri, a thoughtful initiate, but what if the stars don't align perfectly? What if there's an anomaly? Elder Kwaku, with a knowing smile, that is the essence of variability, young one. Not all stars shine with the same light. Outliers exist, and we must account for them. This is where the concept of confidence comes in, confidence intervals that tell us the range within which the truth lies. Ao, eyes widening in realization, so, biostatistics is like reading the stars, understanding the probability of where they'll be and what they'll do. Elder Naya, nods, exactly, Ao. And with this knowledge, you can predict outcomes, test hypotheses, and ensure that your decisions are based on the strongest evidence, not just chance. Act 3, the dance of molecules scene, the cosmic web dissolves, and the young ones find themselves in a luminescent forest, where glowing streams of energy representing drugs flow through the trees, mimicking the pathways of the human body. Elder Kwaku, gesturing to the flowing streams, this, young ones, is the dance of pharmacokinetics. These streams are the medicines, the compounds that we craft to heal and to empower. Watch how they move, how they are absorbed by the roots, absorption, spread through the forest, distribution, changed by the soil and air, metabolism, and finally return to the earth or sky, excretion. Zuri, touching one of the streams, it's beautiful, but how do we control it? How do we ensure that the medicine reaches where it's needed? Elder Naya, points to the ancient trees, their roots deep and wide, the roots are like our tissues, and the volume of distribution determines how far the medicine spreads. But control comes from understanding half-lives, knowing how long the medicine stays potent, and clearance, which tells us how quickly it's removed from the system. Ao, ponders deeply, and what about the dosage? How do we decide how much to give? Elder Kwaku, raising a small vial of glowing liquid, that, my child, is where we calculate loading doses to quickly reach therapeutic levels, and maintenance doses to keep them there. But beware of the balance, too much, and you risk toxicity, too little, and the medicine fails. Act 4, the alchemy of medicine scene, the forest fades, and they arrive at a grand, crystalline laboratory, where ancient alchemists biopharmaceutics masters craft medicines with precision and care. Elder Naya, leading the young ones to the heart of the laboratory, here, in the domain of biopharmaceutics, we shape the future. We determine the form a medicine will take, whether it's a pill, a patch, or a potion. We control its release, ensuring it reaches the right place at the right time. Zuri, examining a vial of shimmering liquid, but how do we ensure that it works every time, for everyone? Elder Kwaku, holds up a tablet, then dissolves it in water, that is the challenge of bioavailability. We must ensure that the medicine is absorbed into the bloodstream effectively. We study its solubility, stability, and the way it dissolves. We conduct bioequivalence studies to compare it with others, ensuring consistency and safety. Ao, realizing the depth of the knowledge, so, biopharmaceutics is the alchemy that turns raw potential into precise power? Elder Naya, nods with pride, yes, Ao. It is the art and science of designing medicines that are as powerful as they are precise. And with this knowledge, you can heal nations, protect the vulnerable, and ensure that the future of Kinesia shines bright. Act 5, the rite of passage scene, the young ones return to the grand hall, where the elders await. The air is thick with anticipation, and the stars outside seem to burn brighter than before. Elder Kwaku, addressing the young ones, you have journeyed through the threads of life, danced with molecules, and mastered the alchemy of medicine. You have seen how the sciences we teach are woven into the fabric of our existence. Now, you must take this knowledge and use it to guide our people, to heal, to protect, and to thrive. Elder Naya, with a voice full of wisdom and warmth, remember, knowledge is power, but wisdom is knowing how to use it. The stars above and the science within are your tools, use them wisely, for the future of Kinesia depends on you. Ao, Zuri, and the young ones, in unison, with newfound confidence and purpose, we will, elders. We will honor the knowledge and walk the path you have shown us. As the young ones step forward, the stars align above, shining down upon them as they embark on their journey to become the healers and protectors of Kinesia, guided by the sciences that connect the cosmos to the soul. Elder Kwaku and Elder Naya, in unison, go forth, Kinchians. May the knowledge of the stars guide your every step. Curtain falls as the stars above Kinesia twinkle with infinite possibilities, symbolizing the boundless potential of those who dare to learn and lead. You said, redo and make sure the technical definitions are interwoven in the narrative. Prioritize based on what is most likely to be tested, assessed and valuable for pharmacy students. Title, The Cosmic Journey of Kinesia, Mastery of Medicine and Science Act 1, The Call to Knowledge Scene, on the advanced yet deeply spiritual planet of Kinesia, where futuristic technology harmonizes with ancient wisdom, the Council of Elders summons the brightest young minds. These youths, chosen for their potential, are about to embark on a journey to master the sciences that sustain their civilization: biostatistics, pharmacokinetics, and biopharmaceutics. Elder Kwaku, standing before a vast holographic map of the universe, young ones, today marks the beginning of your journey through the cosmos of knowledge. You will learn the sciences that dictate the very essence of life: biostatistics, pharmacokinetics, and biopharmaceutics. These are not merely subjects, they are the forces that will guide your hands as healers and protectors of our world. Ao, a spirited and inquisitive initiate, Elder, how do these sciences shape our understanding of medicine and life? Elder Naya, her voice resonating like the hum of the planet's core, biostatistics is our compass, helping us navigate the patterns of life through data. It teaches us how to predict, analyze, and understand the probabilities that govern health and disease. Pharmacokinetics, on the other hand, reveals the journey of medicines within the body: their absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. And biopharmaceutics is the art of designing and crafting these medicines, ensuring they are delivered effectively to where they are needed most. Elder Kwaku, nodding, these disciplines are interconnected, much like the stars in the sky. They will be your guides as you learn to make decisions that will save lives and shape the future. Act 2, The Web of Life, Biostatistics Scene, the young initiates are transported to a cosmic web that stretches across the skies of Kinesia. Each star within the web represents data points of information that, when connected, reveal patterns of health and disease. Elder Naya, guiding them through the web, this, young ones, is the fabric of biostatistics. Each star is a piece of data: a patient, a result, a point in time. But a single star tells us little. It is only when we analyze them collectively that we understand the full picture. Zuri, thoughtfully examining the web, but Elder, how do we interpret these stars? How do we make sense of their patterns? Elder Kwaku, drawing constellations in the air, we use measures of central tendency: the mean, the median, and the mode to find the center of our data. The mean, the arithmetic average, gives us a general idea of where our data lies, while the median, the middle value, tells us about the distribution when data is skewed. The mode reveals the most frequent value. But understanding the spread is equally crucial: standard deviation tells us how dispersed the data is around the mean, and variance is its square. These are fundamental tools in biostatistics, helping us to measure, compare, and predict. Ao, curious, and what about the variability? How do we account for the outliers and differences? Elder Naya, gesturing to the distant stars, variability is the essence of life. We use confidence intervals to estimate where the true population parameters lie, within a range of probability. Hypothesis testing, with p-values, helps us determine whether our observations are due to chance or represent a significant finding. We calculate these probabilities to make informed decisions that could mean the difference between life and death. Elder Kwaku, solemnly, and remember the risks of errors, young ones: type I errors, where we falsely reject the null hypothesis, and type 2 errors, where we fail to detect a true effect. Understanding these concepts is crucial for ensuring the validity of your findings. Act 3, The Journey Within, Pharmacokinetics Scene, the web dissolves, and the young ones find themselves inside a colossal, pulsating organism: a metaphorical representation of the human body. Here, glowing streams of energy flow through veins and organs, symbolizing the movement of drugs within the body. Elder Kwaku, walking with purpose through the vast corridors of the organism, this is the realm of pharmacokinetics: the science of what the body does to a drug. Look at how the medicine is absorbed from the gut into the bloodstream, a process influenced by factors such as solubility, permeability, and the first pass effect in the liver. Zuri, touching the stream of energy, this flow, it spreads throughout the body. What determines where it goes and how fast? Elder Naya, her voice steady and clear, that is the role of distribution. The volume of distribution, VD, is a theoretical space in the body that a drug occupies. Drugs can stay in the bloodstream, bind to plasma proteins like albumin, or disperse into tissues. The extent of this distribution determines the concentration of the drug at its site of action. AO, contemplating, and what happens next? How does the body process the drug? Elder Kwaku, leading them to a luminous, transforming core. Here, in the liver, the drug undergoes metabolism primarily through the cytochrome P450 enzymes. In phase I reactions, the drug is modified by oxidation, reduction, or hydrolysis, often becoming more polar. In phase II, it conjugates with another molecule, making it easier to excrete. These processes are crucial for detoxifying drugs, but they also influence the drug's effectiveness and duration in the body. Zuri, curiously, and how does the body finally rid itself of the drug? Elder Naya, walking towards a radiant portal symbolizing the kidneys, through excretion, primarily by the kidneys through urine, but also by the liver into bile. Clearance is the rate at which the drug is removed from the body, and half-life is the time it takes for the drug's plasma concentration to halve. These parameters guide us in determining the dosing intervals and duration of therapy. Elder Kwaku, with a knowing smile, and then we reach steady state where the rate of drug administration equals the rate of elimination. This balance is essential for maintaining therapeutic drug levels, ensuring the drug's efficacy while minimizing toxicity. Act 4, The Alchemist's Forge, Biopharmaceutics Scene. The young initiates are now in the Alchemist's Forge, a gleaming lab where medicines are crafted with precision and care. Here, technology meets tradition as the essence of biopharmaceutics is revealed. Elder Naya, with reverence for the ancient tools, welcome to the heart of biopharmaceutics, where we design the very forms that medicines take. Each tablet, capsule, or injection is a masterpiece of science, designed to ensure that the drug reaches its target with maximum efficiency. AO, holding a glowing tablet, how do we ensure that this tablet works the same way every time, for every person? Elder Kwaku, demonstrating with holograms, that's where we study bioavailability, the fraction of the drug that reaches systemic circulation intact. We compare formulations through bioequivalence studies, ensuring that a generic drug works just as well as its brand name counterpart. But it's not just about getting the drug into the body, it's about controlling how it's released and where it goes. Zuri, observing the transformations, and how do we control this release? Elder Naya, pointing to a matrix of formulas, we use various delivery systems: controlled release, sustained release, and immediate release formulations to tailor the drug's release profile. We consider factors like the drug's solubility, stability, and the environment it encounters in the body. For instance, enteric coatings protect the drug from the acidic stomach, releasing it in the more neutral intestines. Elder Kwaku nods, and this is where the art of dissolution comes into play. The rate at which the drug dissolves affects how quickly it can be absorbed. The therapeutic window is the range within which the drug is effective but not toxic. We must design drugs to stay within this window, ensuring safety and efficacy. AO, deep in thought, so, every aspect of the drug, its form, its release, its absorption must be meticulously crafted and tested? Elder Naya, with a proud smile, exactly, AO. Biopharmaceutics is where science meets craftsmanship. We don't just create medicines, we engineer them, ensuring they perform consistently and safely across populations. Act 5, The Rite of Mastery Scene. The young ones return to the Great Hall of Kinesia, where the elders await. The air is thick with anticipation, as the stars above seem to pulse with the energy of the knowledge the initiates have gained. Elder Kwaku, addressing the young ones, you have walked the paths of biostatistics, traversed the journeys within pharmacokinetics, and forged the tools in biopharmaceutics. You now hold the knowledge to heal, to protect, and to innovate. Elder Naya, her voice resonant with pride, remember, the power of medicine lies not only in its creation but in its application. Use these sciences to make informed decisions, to ensure that every dose, every treatment is based on solid evidence and understanding. AO, Zuri, and the initiates, in unison, their voices strong and clear, we will, elders. We will honor this knowledge and wield it with wisdom and care. As the young initiates step forward, the stars align above Kinesia, shining down upon them as they prepare to take their place as the future healers and innovators of their world, guided by the profound sciences they have mastered. Elder Kwaku and Elder Naya, in unison, go forth, Kinchians. May the knowledge of the stars, the body, and the medicine guide your every step. The curtain falls, the stars above Kinesia pulse with infinite possibilities, symbolizing the boundless potential of those who master the intricate sciences of life. Note, the views of this podcast represent those of my guest, S, and I note, purpose of these episodes not at all, for advice or medical suggestions. These are aimed to provide support for peer pharmacists in training in educational and intellectually stimulating ways. Again, these are not at all for medical advice, or for medical suggestions. Please see your local state and board certified physician, PA or NP, and pharmacist for medical advice and suggestions.